we ended the last half hour with some back and forth, and I think this is important because it goes back into experience and what really separates the two of you. And Jodey, I want to give you some more time to respond, but I want to tie it into another question. I want to start off with the mayor here, and this goes to a disagreement that I think you two had at the last debate that you had, which was the chamber debate that was on KCBD. Mayor, you seem to have blamed Jodey Arrington for Texas Tech granting in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. You had mentioned that while he was at Texas Tech, illegal immigrants were able to get in-state tuition. It was the state legislature that approved that. Was there something you believe that he could have done to prevent this?
Well, and the reason I brought that up, because he has continually led claims that he was the leader, quote-unquote leader, that drove enrollment up at Tech. Well, if he was in charge of driving enrollment, which is his words, not mine, and you have a 400% increase in illegal immigrants being subsidized at in-state tuition, then if you're going to take credit for the 3,000 extra students that came in during his tenure, then you're also, which was about a 10% rise, then I think it's disingenuous to not also take blame for the fact that there's been over 400% increase. Now, this was at the same time that Texas Tech had historic rises in tuition cost, over 51% rise in tuition cost, putting us past the cost of University of Texas and A&M for the first time ever under Jodey's leadership. He talks about his successes, what he views as successes. Understand, Texas Tech has 36,000 students. Their budget is more than the city of Lubbock. We've got 243,000 residents. They have an $800 million budget. City of Lubbock's budget is $735 million. So I think the fact that we are subsidizing these illegal aliens to go to school under in-state tuition, somebody recruited those students. Jodey's taking credit for the other 3,000. I think he's got to take blame for the illegals as well.
Patently false, wrong, misleading, deceptive, distortion. This is, I mean, we can go down the list. There's nothing that he has said to attack my record that's true. So let me break this one down. Him criticizing Texas Tech and my leadership at Tech for illegal immigrant or non-resident aliens being at Texas Tech is like saying we never had gay marriage before Glen Robertson was mayor. It would be like we had the highest STDs in the nation on account of Mayor Robertson, because that was in 2013 when he was mayor. It'd be like saying that he was on two school boards in Cooper and Southland, and that the children of illegal immigrants that enrolled in that school was his fault under his leadership. And I wouldn't blame him for that. That's a federal law. I've got the DREAM Act right here in 2001. Take it up with the legislature that passed this in 2001, and every other legislature since that hasn't repealed it. So this is the illogic, and this is to me deception that I'm dealing with. And I will take credit as chairman of the enrollment task force, and I'm going to take credit as the leader of a team, and a very good team, to have growth in our enrollment at unprecedented levels when we had 3 years of decline. That actually allowed us to hold tuition and fees flat not once but twice. And when I was chief of staff, first of all, his facts are wrong about 400% anyway. And the tuition and fees during my time as chief of staff went up 16%, not 51%. So the facts are wrong, and the fact that the state law is what's driving this, not some admission policy at Texas Tech, is ridiculous. And this is another way that the mayor will say anything to get elected, including dragging Texas Tech through the mud. And he did that with ETF, and the Texas Tech put out a statement refuting his claims on ETF. He's still making claims that we don't know where the money is and we can't account for it. Well, I've got the ETF's Texas Tech files an annual compliance report. I'm holding in my hand one of those. For 5 years, we submitted these, and not once were there material issues that the state of Texas or the governor's office had with the way we ran our business. We spent it well, we spent it wisely, and we returned a tremendous amount on the investment the state made. So much that in the fourth year of the ETF, $8.4 million, the state of Texas gave us another $13 million. That was under my leadership. So I'm for Texas Tech being a national Tier 1 research university. I'm for competing against A&M and UT and winning. And I'm for Texas Tech growing in our enrollment so that we can hold the costs down on our students. These are all things I'm very proud of. And again, I think that the mayor, unfortunately, has thrown stuff out there that is not true. And I'm glad I have the opportunity to set the record straight, not just today on the radio station, but tonight on the campus of Texas Tech.
Very quickly, just to respond, the numbers from Tech came from the academic charges 2007-14 spreadsheet that came from Texas Tech. 2007 total academic charges were $3,393. At the end of Jodey's tenure, $5,127, a 51% increase. There's no argument there. He also claims that he wasn't at the FDIC when they seized Superior. But on his LinkedIn profile, he says he joined the FDIC in January of 2001. They seized the bank in July of 2001. So his arguments don't hold water. As mayor, I'll take credit for the good things, but I'm also willing to admit that, we've made mistakes. There's votes that I wish I could have back. But to defend something and say I wasn't there when it happened and the proof is black and white, or to say the enrollment, the cost hadn't gone up 51% when this is fourth grade math, I think it's disingenuous. I think we need to get the facts out there for everybody.
I'm going to submit my employment record from FDIC so that you know that it wasn't. I don't know what some website or Wikipedia says on there, but that's wrong, whatever it says. It was not. I wasn't there when the bank failed. Well, I will submit the record to you so you can tell your listeners that this is not a true statement coming from the mayor. And I'm looking at the enrollment when I was chief of staff and chairman of the Enrollment Growth Task Force. That was 07 through FY10, that's fiscal year 10. It was 6,789. And then after, or at fiscal year 10, it was 7,885. That's 16% increase. And we were able to do that and be below. And then this is what's going to be offensive to the likes of former Chancellor Ken Hance and others in the Board of Regents, because we were actually below the Big 12 average. And we held tuition and fees flat not once but twice. And we did that on account of growing. And so this, to me, again, is just more of a distraction from the mayor's record, campaigning on promises to lower taxes, reduce spending, and reduce the debt. And none of that happened. I enjoy being with Glen. I actually have enjoyed a lot of time with him. We spend a lot of time on the road. But this should be about our track records. That's what the city elections were. They were a referendum on the track record of the city under his leadership as mayor.
We'll take the break. When we come back, we have a couple more issues to get into, at least, between Jodey Arrington and Glen Robertson. We'll be right back. Chad Hasty Show, Texas 19 debate. The second debate will be held this evening at 7 p.m. at the Merced Alumni Center. It will be aired here on KFYO as well. Let's get into some other issues. And Jodey, this question, this is for both of you, but Jodey, you'll answer first here. Organizations like Right on Crime here in Texas, which has been championed by former Texas Governor Rick Perry, has been working on criminal justice reform. Right now in Congress, there is a bill. It does have some bipartisan support. It would give judges the discretion to impose lesser sentences than the current federal mandatory minimums. The bill would also eliminate mandatory life sentences for three-time nonviolent drug offenders. If you were in Congress, how might you vote on criminal justice reform?
Well, I don't. This is not the issue of border security and and Islamic terrorists and other things that we talk a lot about on the campaign trail, but I'll just tell you principally that I think we need to be tough on crime to deter crime. At the same time, we have to balance fiscal responsibility, and I think there are some folks that are where we're paying the freight for years on nonviolent crime, and I think we should take a look at it, and we should have a common sense approach to it moving forward. And then the ones that are violent crime, we need to make sure that we put them away. And I'm for the death penalty, and so I think we need to let states make those decisions. And just like in a lot of cases where we're talking about issues from education to health care, the states ought to make those determinations and determine how they want to govern themselves back to the 10th Amendment. So that's my position on those. But there certainly is reasonable ground to reform and make sure that we're not just throwing good money after bad and wasting it on account of sentences that don't make sense for nonviolent crimes.
Glenn?
Well, I think we've got to take a hard stance. We cannot continue to weaken the rule of law in the United States of America. If we have a problem with the law, we need to work on changing the law, not changing the penalties for violating it. So I disagree completely with Governor Perry. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a slippery slope. We need to enforce our rules of laws to the letter. Now, here again, if we've got laws that are outdated, that need to be looked at, let's look at them. But we have to be a rule of law and order. It is the only thing that keeps us safe at night. It's one of the reasons I've had the Lubbock Professional Police Association endorse me in this race, and the Border Patrol Council of the Laredo sector, because they know that I will represent their viewpoint, which is we've got to remain tough on crime. And if people are committing crimes against our citizens, they need to pay the penalty.
Next question, it does deal with illegal immigration. We'll start with you, Mayor. When you talk to voters out there, and illegal immigration is obviously going to be a big issue for the next Congress, or it should be, why are you the best one to represent this area when it comes to the issue of illegal immigration?
I think the Border Patrol Council said it best. This is 1,300 men and women that make their living down on the border, trying to do their job. But they know that I understand that their hands are tied behind their back. They also know that I've committed to them, that I'll go fight for them. I will fight for the support and the tools they need to secure our border. We have the ability to do that today. What we don't have is the will in Congress. We also have the tools to fix the estimated 12 million illegals that are still in this country, and we've got to address them. They're a drain on our economy. They are draining massive amounts of money from medical assistance to welfare to WIC programs, and our citizens, hard-working Americans, are having to subsidize these illegals. It's going to take somebody that's got the courage and is not worried about being politically correct, isn't worried about angering their buddies that are in leadership in the party or the establishment elite, but will stand up and continually fight, secure the border, enforce the laws we currently have on the books, and let's quit subsidizing these folks and start putting American citizens first.
Jodey?
Yeah, this is the number one issue: safety and security of the American people. We have a public safety crisis along the border. Our federal government has failed to do its first job and keep us safe, and it's really shameful that a great country, a sovereign nation, will not defend its border. This is an issue of national security, and we need to use every tool, every technology, every resource necessary to do it. We know how to do it. I mean, as Glenn said, there's no will and strength of conviction and courage to do it. We need more boots on the ground. We need policies that empower our Border Patrol agents. Those guys are demoralized. It's a revolving door. These policies of catch and release have completely taken the wind out of their sail, and they risk their lives every day to do it. And we need to make sure, I think it's an appropriate use of the military. Again, it's national security. And I've talked to border security agents along the Texas border, and they said they welcome that backup. We need to turn the magnets off. We need to stop providing services to people who don't pay taxes and pay into the system. It is a drain on our system. We can't afford the system we have now. Last time I checked, we can't afford the services for the American people at $19 trillion in debt with no end in sight. So we've got to enforce the law. President Obama decides when he's going to enforce the law and when he wants to write a new law. There's no rule of law. And it's again, it's shameful that a country as great as America is failing on this issue. Enforce the law with cities, enforce the law with employers, and turn off the spigot of services that are really attracting folks here to America.
I'm going to break the rules just a little bit here. I want to keep this between 45 seconds and a minute. Speaker Paul Ryan says that he is not ready to endorse Donald Trump. Both of you have said you will vote for Donald Trump. Do you have any hesitation towards Donald Trump? And if elected and if Paul Ryan is still Speaker, what do you think this says about his leadership? And Jodey, we'll start with you.
Well, I would criticize that decision to not get behind the Republican nominee. I mean, this is what is failing about our country and our party. A kingdom divided cannot stand. We've got to put America's interest first. Okay, and a house divided cannot stand, and the Republican Party needs to rally for their nominee. The people have spoken; they've spoken, and there's plenty of good things to say about Donald Trump. I didn't vote for him; I voted for Ted Cruz. But if he does what he says he's going to do on trade, if he does what he says he's going to do to rebuild the military, and a host of other things, people are fed up with Washington politicians who don't deliver results. They see him as a strong leader who delivers results, and I can appreciate that, even if I didn't vote for him.
Real quick.
I've got a problem not only with Paul Ryan, but both Bushes, for Dole, for our party leadership, for this establishment elite that think they know better than us. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I will support him. The people have spoken, and the establishment elite, this little privileged class that think they own and control everything, they need to get over it and get behind our nominee.
45-second closing statements. Jodey, you first.
Well, I would say that I love West Texas, and that's that, and my love for my country is driving me to this. I have 3 children, and I want them to grow up in the land of opportunity, not the welfare state and the big government socialistic system that we've become, looking more like the European Union than the great United States of America. But we need a voice for West Texas. We need a champion for the things that matter to us, our interests and our values. We've got to get our country back. We've got to make sure that my children and the folks who are listening, their children and grandchildren grow up in a safe, strong, and free America, in an exceptional America, in the shining city on a hill, like Ronald Reagan said. And the only way we can do this is stop sending politicians who say one thing and do another, and spend more time attacking with false attack ads their opponents. We need leaders who deliver results. That's my record. That's my reputation. And that's what I would do a whole lot more of if I were the next privileged to be the next congressman from District 19. Thanks.
Mayor Robertson.
It's typical to try to take a little weak jab in these closing comments, as Jodey just did. But we've got more important issues. And this isn't about me and Jodey. This is about the district. I've worked since I was 13 years old. I've created jobs. I've built businesses. I've served voluntarily on school boards and city councils. I'm asking the voters, I want to go to work for you. I think I can represent you best. And if elected, you'll see me back in this district. Thank you for the time, Chad.
All right. Again, thanks to both candidates for appearing here on the show.